obviously you're not a golfer.
I must have drank me about 15 Dr. Peppers.
Congratulations. How do you feel?
I gotta pay.
We have heard the chimes at midnight, Master Romeo.
You're an inanimate fucking object! You told I'm coming! And hell's coming with me, you hear? Who the fuck has the goddamn gall to call his house on a Tuesday night? God!
Diane, I am here recording with my two good friends today because this is the latest episode of 3 for 3, and today is a very special episode, the David Lynch special, which is why I'm pretending to be Agent Cooper from Twin Peaks, because that may or may not be one of the things that we're going to talk about today. But I'll let you know as soon as I'm done. Yes, hello everybody. As I said, welcome back to another edition of 3 for 3. I am Jackson Workman, and I am joined by my two good friends yet again, Mr. Matthew Patterson and Mr. Samuel Holler. And today, as I said, will be a very special episode because this will be our tribute episode to the late, great cinema god, David Lynch. R.I.P. to a fucking legend. And yeah, so we have we have two of his movies and one of his pilots to talk about today. So I guess where do you guys want to start? What feels good to you guys? Do you want to go ahead and start with, you know what? I guess we'll go ahead since it's the most recent one that I saw. We'll go ahead and start with the Twin Peaks pilot, which was Sam's pick. So I will let you take it away.
I know I say this a lot, but I must stress once again. Picture this. You're in the woods, deep, deep in the woods, kind of away from America life. And with the good sides comes the bad sides. Going out for a morning to go fishing, have a good day, get your day started right. And what do you stumble upon? Laura fucking Palmer, wrapped in plastic, washed up on the beach. Who killed her? I don't know. That's what the show is about. But you got tons, and I mean tons, of characters throughout the town who potentially are the suspect. We got her boyfriend Bobby, her lover James. We got, I don't know if I want to go through the list of everyone because I could potentially get into spoiler territory, but I digress. Who killed her? How are we gonna find out? We bring in the fucking hotshot detective, Agent Cooper from the FBI, sporting his nice ass fucking coat, just coming into town looking to get a cup of coffee and a nice slice of apple pie. And we're about to solve the mystery. This show is classic. It is, I think it has impacted all sorts of stuff. It has even like on a social level of like the day-to-day, nightly or weekly watching of this show to people and this America talking about who did it, trying to figure it out and not having answers and getting further and closer to the truth. And that's really what it does. It kind of just swirls you around this pool where pieces of the answers are scattered throughout, but it's up to you to kind of see where it all connects.
More or less.
Yeah.
This was your first time watching it, Jackson.
Yes.
Your opinions on that.
So
As a
this
first-time
is,
watcher.
yeah, this is on multiple of the picks here, more than one. That will be the case because I'm a big fan of David Lynch's, but I before this week had only seen about three of his movies. So there was still a lot to see, and this was one of the things I'd never watched, Twin Peaks. Always wanted to, but just never got around to it. Whereas you both have seen it. I remember when the third season came out, you guys were talking about it like every week, and it was a big deal. And I was like, oh man, I want to catch up, but I just never did. And And yeah, Sam in particular, I know it's your favorite show of all time, so very different experiences here. And I was hesitant when you said the Twin Peaks pilot at first. I was like, I, it's not that I don't want to watch the show. It's just that's a big commitment because I feel like I'm gonna have to watch the whole rest of the show. And I was like, I just don't know if right now you're like a drug dealer. You got me hooked on it now. I fucking I'm 2 episodes deep.
Hey,
I would have seen more last night if I didn't have to get up early today. But pretty much as soon as we're done here, that's pretty much all I'm probably going to do the rest of the day is I'm sure by this time tomorrow, if not by the end of tonight, I'll be done with the first season. So, um, yeah, I fucking love the pilot. I thought it was one of the greatest fucking TV pilots I've ever seen. I mean, just right off the bat, it gets you so invested in the world and the characters. It's so incredibly cinematic. It's so incredibly impactful. It's so Lynchian. It's so Lynch. I mean, just from the fucking beginning, it's just like, yep, I know who made this. And yeah, so much more to say about it, but just right off the bat, those are my initial thoughts. Just incredible. And like you said, when you talk about television and how it's evolved over the years, I feel like the show that gets the most credit for really pushing forward the medium of television to and making it more cinematic. The Sopranos is always the first one that people say, and that one was very important. But, I think even further back, this just watching it, and I've heard people talk about it a bunch, and now that I've seen it, I see what they mean. You know, the idea of in 1990 something like this existing on television was kind of unheard of, like the cinematic nature of it, the quality of just like it's like one of his movies but in TV format basically. And it was phenomenal to behold. I mean, so much of it, I mean, the emotional impact, the performances of the actors, everything, yeah, everything just worked. But Matt,
Angelo Badalamenti, the GOAT
we
composer.
will we will mention many more times throughout this episode. This is not the last time his name will come up. He is fucking goated as fuck. I love the theme song. I've had it stuck in my head all day for for this show. But Matt, I know you obviously have seen it before, so this was a rewatch for you as well.
Yeah, I've seen the pilot a few times, but I do remember the first time that I did watch it all the way, like I started getting really into it, was I was at a beach like trip with some friends, like their family pretty much, and all I would do is just get drunk and then go up into like the loft area and watch Twin Peaks while everyone was at the beach, and they would come in and like watch it, or my friend Davis would, and he would be like, "What the fuck are you watching, Matt?" And he's like, "What in the soap opera shit is this?" Because he thought it was like over the top and stuff, but he kind of got into it. And then years later, he was like, "I actually finished the show. It was really good." Um, but yeah, no, it was a really good rewatch as always. Uh, you always kind of notice a little bit like more, every time you see something, especially with Lynch. So
That's him to a T. You always notice more when you watch it again.
yeah.
Um,
I
yeah.
always think it's funny how, speaking of the, Angelo Badalamenti, I like how the music is like almost a joke, so not a joke, but like humorous sometimes.
I know exactly what you
Bobby
mean.
does the click, and then it just starts up, and then the snaps are in the song. I was like, that's
Yeah, there are parts where it's kind of more kind of up tempo, kind of jazzy sounding, and like it provides some kind of levity to some scenes, but and then at other points it's just very kind of brooding and mysterious, and it walks that fine line. Um,
Just like it show, it's very soft in aspects, even when it's like attacking.
right.
It's quality that
And yeah, just really, truly, I think it ranks up there as one of the all-time great TV pilots. I mean, like you got two kinds of pilots, the kinds that it's one of the best episodes of the show and it really sets the tone right away, or the kind where it's like, okay, so we had to get through that to get into the show and now the show will build. And this was the former. This was like, okay, you could not have set the tone better. You could not have gotten me more invested in the mystery. I really because I was only gonna watch the pilot last night. I wasn't gonna watch episode two, but I was so invested. I just had to. I want to know. I want to know who killed Laura Palmer. That's you really get invested in the mystery, and just from the first episode. Like you said, Sam, there's a huge cast of characters in this town, like at least 20 like major characters, if not more. And so far, I am invested in all of them. I want to get to know more about them, even though like there are some that I like, there are some that I hate, there are some where I'm like, I'm not sure how to feel about you yet, but they're all interesting characters, and I want to learn more about them and who they are and why they're behaving the way that they do. Um, and I don't know, it's just like each and every person in that first episode, you really get a sense of like, okay, yeah, I get who you not like I get who you are, but I want to find out more, you know? So that's one of the things it does very well.
You have a favorite character so far?
Not yet, but I have quite a few that I really like. I have quite a few that I really dislike. My least favorite character by far right now is Leo. I don't like him at all, for obvious reasons. I'm kind of just hoping he dies soon, but yeah, and little piece of shit, what's his name? Little Bobby. Yeah, like fuck him. He's getting on my nerves too. But just about everybody. I'll tell you who one of my favorites right now is Warren Frost's character. The Donna's dad.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
he's one of my favorites right now. And this is the only thing besides Seinfeld that I've seen him in. And both of George Costanza's in-laws are in this show. And I'm just like, what the fuck are the chances that they would both have? Because Laura Palmer's mom is George Costanza's mother-in-law, and then Warren Frost is his father. They were a couple on Seinfeld, and I'm like, what the fuck? This is crazy. But and she's great. Grace Zabriskie, who plays Mrs. Palmer, is one of the best actors on the show so far for me. Just
I
not to get in episode two too much, but there's a scene in that where she's like flipping the fuck out, and I was just like very unnerved by that scene. Her acting just felt very real. And yeah, I like the sheriff too. He's pretty cool. And I like Pete Martell. He's who that's my man from Eraserhead. He looks so different in this. But yeah, I'm just like but in a way, like his voice is kind of the same, but like he looks very different. But he was also in Blue Velvet, which we'll talk about later. But yeah, so my favorite part of it right now, I would have to say, is again just Lynch's like distinct style is always very appealing, but here I don't know, it's like it's so just tightly just locked in where it's just I don't know. I love the way he's using the style to like set the mood and the atmosphere and like of the town, and just like I really just think the direction is fantastic. I really think again there were so many points where it was just so emotional in such a real way, like the scene where the principal is like, doing the announcement about her being dead, and just a lot of the scenes of the various townspeople reacting. And I don't know, I get the feeling that going forward, you're really gonna grow to love a lot of the characters and the town. And I just liked a lot of the little moments. Like I liked the Everett McGill's character and Peggy Lipton like sitting in the bar. That was a sweet moment, I thought. I'm like, I want to know more about their relationship. And I liked the scene where Donna's dad picks her up, and he's like, well, you left your sister's bike there, and we got to go get that back. And what, I'm so happy to have a daughter like you and stuff like that. Just I don't know, it just felt like there was some really genuine, and I love Joan Chen's character saying we're going to stop production, and she seems like a cool.
Or
Say what?
Josie Packard.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to like learning more about her, because she seems like definitely one of the most interesting characters so far. And fuck Piper Laurie's character. She's a bitch so far. But yeah, it's just from top to bottom, just such an interesting cast of characters and such incredibly well made. I mean, the direction and the cinematography and everything about it, it just especially for like a show from this era, it just looks so just incredible. I mean, I really love it's one of my favorite things about every Lynch production is just the atmosphere. It really just is so unique and just draws you in and just, it's so kind of mysterious and brooding and kind of sinister, but also, I don't know, there's like a lightheartedness to it at the same time. Like, it's really, yeah, I'm very invested in it so far.
The opening shot with the waterfall in the lodge, like the hotel, from the moment it hits, it just it has its own character trait, and it have a feeling of how alone this place is, and there's just so many small different like quirks that really like stick out because of that, and I know it's kind of cliche to say like the town is a character, but it really is.
I was just about to say that. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. It really is. I mean, that's why I think in the credits it's so fitting. Like it opens with just the shot of the sign for the town, and then the title card. And it's just like, I don't know. It's like, you're driving into Twin Peaks to get into, to spend some time with the town itself as a character and everything that's going on in it, you know.
We don't even get Cooper coming in until like halfway through the first episode.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was I mean I kind of figured like, well, we got an hour and a half, I guess we can afford to like take our time a little bit. But yeah, he didn't come in for a minute and I was like, I'm sure when he does though, he'll make a big entrance and once he comes in, he kind of takes over the episode a bit, but and I love he's a great character so far, just delightfully quirky like so many of Lynch's characters are and very weird always talking into his tape recorder and just it was so weird though watching this the night after I saw Blue Velvet, like because this only came out 4 years after that, but he looks like he's 15 years older somehow, and I'm just like, what the fuck? How did you get so much older in 4 years? But yeah, he's great. It's funny because um, the three movies of his. And then the fourth that I watched for this, I saw four movies in a row with no Kyle MacLachlan in it. And I'm just like, how have I seen this many David Lynch things without him in it? Like, how does that make any sense? So it was nice with this and with Blue Velvet to finally like really see him in some stuff. It's like watching like four Martin Scorsese movies without De Niro or DiCaprio in it. It's like, how the fuck have I seen this many? But yeah, he's great. I love how quirky he is and how I can't wait to get to know more about him. Like so far I feel like there's just so much more to explore with his character. Like I'm looking forward to to both seeing that and to finding out more about just seeing his relationship with the townspeople develop because he's kind of the outsider right now. And everyone in the town kind of knows each other. They either like each other or they don't like each other, but they all know each other. And he's kind of the outsider. So it's kind of, and already, again, not to go into episode two too much, but he's starting to kind of, get more acquainted with some of the townspeople. I don't know what the hell Audrey's problem is, but she's fucking like crazy. So far, I'm just like, you're a force of destruction a little bit so
Yep.
far.
Oh yeah.
I have a feeling she will definitely cause some fuck shit to happen later on. But like pretty much from her first scene, I'm like, all right, there's something off about you, I can tell. For sure. But yeah, but I guess just like talking about just the pilot itself, um, so many great scenes, so much great character development, so much great just world building and tension building. And I see why this was such a big hit when it came out. I mean, just like you're so sucked in with the mystery. Like you really want to know, like, because it's not even just about like who killed Laura Palmer. It's about why and how, and you get so invested in each of the townspeople and their possible motivations. Like in just the first episode, some shows take a whole season to build this interesting of a mystery, but just in the first episode, they do such a good job, like exploring the dynamics between each of the people in her life, like her friends and her family and the other townspeople she may have known. And they do such a good job building up the mystery of like just the details of like where she was killed and the other girl who made it out, but was almost killed, and just the note that was left. And finally, the title of the movie makes sense to me now, because that's the what's written on the note there. I was like, oh, I see. That's why it's called that. Um, but yeah, there's just so many layers and different aspects to it. And but it's not just like they blow their load in the first episode. Like by the end of the first episode, there's so much on the board that still like just with I'm curious to find out what.
You saying blow their load, and then the next thing you said was there's so much on the board.
Well, there is.
Right.
David Lynch was jizzing all over the board. And shout out to Mark Frost as well, the other co-creator. But
Keep it,
they were say what?
keeping it frosty.
Yeah, they I assume Warren Frost must be his dad, or related to him in some way, but otherwise that's a weird coincidence. But but no, really, I mean they are like just throwing so much at the board, and they really are just well, now you got me thinking about it. I'm trying not to laugh now. But yeah, they really do just fuck. Why'd you
I
but
mean, I couldn't help but laugh. I'm sorry.
but what was I saying? But no, but really there's so much at the end that they really are like with James Marshall's character. I guess his name is James. That's weird. James like really like saying all that stuff at the end about like, kind of giving vague details about what happened the last time he saw her. I'm like, "Oh geez, what's going on here?" And not to give, yeah, episode two, at the end of that episode, there's a new suspect on the board, and I'm just like, oh shit, like what? I just love how every time they're leaving you with another kind of like holy shit thing, like keeping you engaged. They're doing such a good job of keeping you engaged. And yeah,
Something that the show did really well that I think people connected with was how it shows honestly how all of the people in Laura's life did not really know who she was as a person, and how each of them are dealing with the fact that they didn't really know her, especially Donna's story and her confusion with everything. And it really, I think that also put that in audience members' like minds as well. It's like, how well do I know my best friends? And
right. And Matt, are you frozen or are you just doing something with your hand?
Hmm?
Matt, I think your screen is frozen for me.
Is it frozen?
Yeah, like it's just a shot of you with your hand over your mouth, twitching your finger.
I wish I could see that.
Uh-oh. There we go. Okay.
Sure.
I wonder how long it'll take the audience to notice. It took me like a minute or two. Um,
Yeah, I guess I was just like this.
it was like you doing like, yeah, like
No,
your
I
finger
was
was
pulling a
twitching and
Lynch.
shit.
I was pulling a Lynch. I was glitching.
But yeah, no, like you said, that's another thing that got audiences invested, and that's got me invested. I'm genuinely curious, like because they reveal a little bit at a time, kind of like new details about her, where it's like, oh yeah, okay, I guess we didn't know Laura. I guess she wasn't the perfect, but at the same time, they keep adding new details of, um, things that she was doing, like good things she was doing in the community. Like, oh, she helped tutor me on my English, or she helped, establish this benefit thing or whatever, or she volunteered on the weekend. Like, so she was doing all these good things, but there was like, and getting into one of our later picks, it seems to me like that's something that, David Lynch really likes to talk about, is kind of like what's going on beneath the idealistic, like suburban community. Like there's all this kind of sinister stuff bubbling underneath, and getting to the heart of that. And that definitely seems like that's what the show's doing already, and what it's going to keep doing as it goes on. And yeah, I can definitely see why it was such a big hit, why it's still beloved today. I mean, Jesus Christ, if the rest of the show is as good as the first two episodes, I mean, I can't imagine this already. This is one of my, favorite shows I've seen in a while. So I'm excited to see where it goes, and I think truly this is up there with like all the great pilots of all time. I mean, just so much to say about, again, how great the characters are, how real the emotions are. I mean, every time there's an emotional moment with any of the characters, I really felt it. I really, you know, especially again, once everyone starts finding out that she's dead, like that scene where her parents find out, that's very heart-wrenching and just like, so much, again, just the direction and the cinematography.
Something was wrong with her daughter. She knew.
Hmm.
She knew, but
Wish-
yeah. Well,
And
I'm going to be very curious to see where it goes. That's for sure.
Oh,
spoiler
season three is
alert.
gonna be crazy.
I can't imagine because the first two seasons are going to be wild to go through, and then the movie, I have no idea how that's going to be, but getting to that third season, I just can't imagine the time jump is going to be. I may wait a little while after finishing season two to get into season three just to kind of brace myself for, you
It's
know,
abrasive, I'll tell you that.
Yep.
yeah. So I've been told. I've heard that's basically like an 18-hour movie is what I've been told. So that'll be interesting to see how that
Yeah,
goes.
it's interesting.
Yeah. But I'm just impressed because I know that almost the entire cast came back for that season. So that's pretty impressive. But yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing the rest of it. And really can't. I'm glad you picked it, Sam, because I was definitely very hesitant, but it was phenomenal, and I can't wait to see the rest of it.
Spoiler alert, the real killer of Laura Palmer is James Hurley's big ass forehead taking up half my TV screen, okay?
His name is Arnold.
Yeah, I couldn't help but think of when I saw that review, that scene from Fast Five, whichever Fast and Furious movie it is. But a
Uh,
big ass forehead. But now on to our second pick, which I believe, since we alluded to it earlier, shall be the one and only classic film Blue Velvet, which Sam is wearing now. Oof. I can't tell what's hotter, you or Isabella Rossellini. That's a joke.
you
It's
gotta put the thing in your mouth though.
Oh,
The what do you call it? The string.
yeah.
we got to get someone to come hit. There you go.
Close enough.
Yes, Blue Velvet, which I believe was Mr. Patterson's pick. So go ahead and take
Mm.
that one away.
All righty. So imagine this. You're walking along one fine suburban morning, the birds chirping, the wind's blowing the trees, and in the grass, you find a severed ear.
That's
That
David
starts
Lynch's hair on it, by the way. His actual hair was used for the prop.
shit. That that does not surprise me. But yes, that starts your own investigation into the mystery of this ear, which leads you down a whole plot of drugs, sadomasochism, and Pabst Blue Ribbon. Um, Basically, the story revolves around Kyle MacLachlan finding an ear, him and Laura Dern, who are uh, together, pretty much, kind of together. It's a interesting movie. Anyways, they go see Isabel Rossellini after sneaking into our apartment, initially, as an exterminator. Uh, and basically, he makes his own key and starts spying on her to find out that she is being kind of forced used by Frank, played by Dennis Hopper, who is a sadistic fuck. And
And so is the
um,
character.
right.
It was a very inspired casting choice, casting Dennis Hopper to play himself in this movie. I thought that was a very good idea.
He was having a little too much fun, a little too easy for him.
A little too
It,
much.
it's
Um,
Daddy.
and the film continues on with the relationship between Kyle MacLachlan and Isabella Rossellini as it gets kind of weird. And as this, mystery unfolds and all that good stuff. And it's quite the movie. I forgot how kind of violent it was. I mean, I knew it was violent, but sometimes you just forget until you're watching it and you're like, oh yeah,
An
fuck.
aggressive movie.
Very aggressive. Um, but yeah, I've seen this 1,000 times. I saw it on IFC for the first time when I was in like high school. So, but I still got like most of the gist of it. But yeah. But did you guys think, Jackson, was it your first time watching this one too?
Indeed, yes.
And
Um,
what did you think?
I thought it was great. It's one of those movies. It's like a movie that we will talk about next week, not last week. Once Upon a Time in America, where just like with that movie that we haven't seen yet because we haven't recorded that one yet. Just like with Once Upon a Time in America, um, that was a movie that I really, really liked a lot. But afterwards I was like, there's so much to unpack, there's so much to process. I gotta like, and then the more I thought about it, the more I was like, oh, it's great, which I knew already, but with this one, it was like kind of similar where it was like I was thoroughly entertained the whole way through, loved everything about it, thought it was fantastic, but still there was a lot to kind of process after it was over. And I'm still processing some of it now. And, just like with that one, it's like I really loved it the first time, but I really feel like if I watch it again, it's gonna like fully click and I'll love it even more. So I can't wait I don't know when I'm gonna watch this a second time, but I can't wait till that day comes because knowing the whole picture, it'll really I feel like click a lot better. But I loved again, like I said for Twin Peaks, his style just draws you in so much. Like I was so, and just like with Twin Peaks, the mystery was so interesting to me. I was so interested in, first of all, what was going on, and just so many scenes where I was like, how are they going to do something about this? How is this character going to get out of this situation? And again, the mood and the atmosphere of the whole thing was just so, it drew me in so much, and it's just like, and I was watching it, and a lot has been said about David Lynch since he died about 2 weeks ago. And one of the things that I've heard said the most is he was one of the few true unique filmmakers, like one of a kind. There's no one else like him, and it's the God's honest truth. You can't say that about many, but he was one of them. Because I was watching this movie and I was just like, there's no one else on earth who could have made this but him. I mean, who could have made it like this? You know what I'm saying? Like this blend of just like incredibly fucked up and crazy, and also like really sweet and optimistic and really like surreal and dreamlike and kind of funny at parts. It's like no one in the world could have made it the way that he made it, Like he was really just one of a kind. And I couldn't help but think that the whole time I was watching this, like, you know, and it says a lot about him that of the five films of his I've seen, I love this a lot. I would call it one of my favorite movies, but this wasn't even in the top three for me, which just so shows you like how incredible, how hard it is to pick which one of his movies is the best one. But yeah, just had such a blast watching this one. Sam, I know this is definitely not your first time watching this one.
Actually, my second time watching it only. And it was kind of on the bottom of my list of his movies, but now it is very much at the top. Um, Jarring as fuck to interrupt a rape scene for another rape scene and then to go back to the original rape scene. And
That's how we roll in this one.
it's so good. And I don't know this influenced it, but the moment when he breaks in and he gets stuck in her closet, for some reason I just got up and I laid down on like horizontally, like my TV's here projecting outwards. I laid down right next to it and just watched it from laying down on the floor, and it felt really different. And
Uh,
that introduction to his character when he just comes in and lays the law down is
that's a pretty unforgettable scene right there.
the scene where he's driving them and he's huffing the tank is just nail biting. And
And the scene where he takes him to the brothel, pretty much,
Which
and the piano
shout out
player.
shout out to Dean Stockwell, who that man, everything I have ever seen him in, he is the most interesting part of the scene. He will make an impression one way or another. I love him so much. I think that's his only scene in the whole movie, but boy, does he make an impression, singing into the lamp and everything, and just being all.
Piano player in that actually is Angelo Badalamenti.
Oh no shit!
Yep,
so
so another
Oh
shout out.
wow, didn't even realize.
Yep.
Um, there were all kinds of people who were popping up in this. Brad Dourif randomly has a small part as part of the gang. And
Mhm.
like I said earlier, Jack Nance, who's been in most of Lynch's stuff, is one of the gang members. And I didn't recognize him at first because he looks so different than he did in Eraserhead. And then when I saw him in Twin Peaks, I'm like, okay, he looks pretty much the same as he did in Blue Velvet. So I'm used to this look on him now. But yeah, and man, I I cannot say enough about the Dennis Hopper in this movie. Like everybody in the movie is fantastic, but Jesus Christ, that is one of the fucking most crazy batshit. I mean, I can't believe he wasn't nominated for this. I mean, really, he was just that character was so psychotic and so crazy and so mysterious. And there was just so much about him that just made him such a great villain. And he really just brought all of that out just by, again, he wasn't acting much, let's be honest, but he was more or less playing himself. But really was just, he and Isabella Rossellini, who I'll never be able to see the same way again after this, were real standouts. And she was just, her character, that's one of the main things that I kind of was left thinking about was her character and just that I'm still trying to analyze like kind of what her deal is and why she's all, likes to be hit and stuff and why she's all just her motivation for kind of doing some of the crazy things that she does and some of the things that she says and because I'm sure there's a lot beneath the surface of that one, but I'm still just kind of theorizing about that. But and Sam, like you said, right now of the five films of his that I've seen, it's like more towards the bottom. But I really, just like you said, you saw it again and it's one of your favorites now. I have a very strong feeling if I see it again, the same will happen with me, just because it's just kind of one of those movies. But yeah, and like I
Laura Dern's cry face still haunts me
that
because it
scene fucked a lot of scenes in this movie fucked me up beyond belief, but that one in particular really was incredibly effective. Just the face she makes and Isabella Rossellini melting down and just, her screaming and everything. That was just, and one of the most haunting things I've ever seen is that just cut to her on the lawn, like
Yeah.
all naked and dazed and shit. Because you're just not expecting it in that moment. It just kind of, that was such brilliant editing, just the way it just cuts to her, just all, and it takes you off guard. You're like, whoa, what the fuck is going on? You know? And I just love again, just kind of analyzing the characters, like Kyle MacLachlan's character. Um, you're not really sure for a lot of it whether he's necessarily the best dude or not, because he's cheating on Laura Dern and a lot of the things he's doing, it's like, are you doing this because you want to do the right thing, or are you doing it because you kind of have a little bit of a screw loose? Like you can't really tell for most of the movie, and some of the things he does are, to say the least, very questionable. But, at the end of it all, it's just, I don't know. I think it's just like he's kind of trying to, I don't know. It's kind of like he's just kind of having a moment where he wants to kind of start because he's in this small town and he's, working at a hardware store. Say what?
small town of North Carolina.
Apparently so, yes. Apparently Matt has some insights about that I'd like to hear because I didn't know until he said that this was filmed in North Carolina. But
There is, have you seen Maximum Overdrive, Jackson?
I know that story. Yeah, I know that he allegedly directed that one scene in Maximum Overdrive. Yeah.
Yeah. And
Um,
kind of can get the feel because when they're driving around there, you're like, that looks very similar, like very similar
mhm.
neighborhoods.
Yeah, which
That
I
was
that makes sense to me because yeah, allegedly they were in the same neighborhood or something or close together when they were filming those, but um that would be weird if that was true. That'd be wild. But yeah, a lot of good things to say about this one for sure. I thought again, love the direction. I believe this was who was it that shot this one? Was it Frederick Elmies? Yeah, who shot Eraserhead? Gorgeous cinematography. My boy Angelo was going fucking ham on this one. I mean, all three of the things we watched this week, that motherfucker was just going ham. But yeah, I love the music. I loved, again, like you said, Sam, tons of nail-biting scenes. That whole sequence, yeah, with the brothel and the car, and when he gets him out and he's beating the shit out of him, you're genuinely like scared for him. And the thing that took me the most off guard, I've never seen a David Lynch movie that had that optimistic of an ending before. Like it was really, I was not expecting it. I was like, wow, we're really, and I love it too. I love the whole thing about the Robins and, obviously everyone knows the main kind of theme of his movies is dreams and stuff. And I liked how in this one, the dream about the Robins was kind of the most important kind of like symbolic thing in the movie. Just because when she gave that little monologue about that, I kind of figured that would be important later on, and it was because that's kind of how it ends. The Robin there symbolizing that the darkness is over and everything, and it just caught me off guard. I thought I was going to have just because his movies usually do, they usually have, if not a flat out bleak and depressing ending, at least a bittersweet one.
Yeah.
So for it to have like that optimistic of a conclusion, I was like, whoa, okay, well, didn't see this coming. But
All right, I might get canceled for this, but on to the straight story. Let's get this show on the road, okay?
oh boy, you came prepared today. Love
Let's
it.
get on that mower and let's ride that thing from Iowa to Wyoming.
Is that no, it was
No,
over.
Wisconsin.
He's going from Iowa to Wisconsin.
Wisconsin, yeah. Okay.
So there we go.
Yeah.
There was an IO in there, just like Wyoming.
Oh, yeah.
But yes, the straight story, which was my pick.
I think what's really going to cancel me is throwing the gay flag.
Yeah, the joke itself wouldn't have gotten you canceled. It's you throwing it across the room that but
Too late.
yeah, too late. You did it. You gotta live with it now. But yeah, so my pick was the straight story, which apparent I didn't know until the end credits is based on a true story. Had no idea when I was watching this that it was a real thing. But it is based on the true story of Mr. Alvin Straight, who in the 90s, when he was 73 years old, decided he heard about his brother had a stroke and he wanted to go see him. He hasn't spoken to him in years. They've been on very bad terms. But he wants to go see him and make amends. But he's old, so he can't drive and no one can help him. So what does he do? He gets on his lawnmower and he just goes all the way to Wisconsin. And he doesn't give a shit what happens or who tries to stop him. And he meets all kinds of interesting characters along the way who he imparts wisdom to and learns from. And, yeah, it's a very, very heartwarming tale. And
And then the
it's,
one who stops him is Kevin Spacey.
oh no. We don't want Kevin Spacey to stop him.
Sam's 2 for 2 on this one.
Say what?
Sam's 2 for 2 on this movie.
Kevin Spacey won the Oscar over
Oh, right. Yes,
American
which is
Beauty.
a joke and a half, but as was every Oscar that piece of shit movie won. But every time I see a movie from 1999, I think I can't get more pissed off at how many Oscars American Beauty won. And then I see another movie from 1999 and I'm like, yep, it's even dumber now. But
He deserved this fucking win. This was such a good performance
Oh
for
my
this.
God, was it ever? His last one too, his very last movie. And yeah, so this, well, yeah, just to talk about Richard Farnsworth, I'm assuming you both know the story of what happened to him after this movie. Yeah,
Kind of. I mean, I know he passed, but I don't know exactly what happened.
yeah, he first of all was just such an underappreciated character actor who was great in so many movies, and it was just so cool seeing him for once have a leading part like this where he really got to fucking give so much. Um, and it's just cool that if this was going to be his last performance, it couldn't have been a better role. But yeah, he was sick, just like the character is. He was in failing health. I believe
It's
he had,
morbid as fuck
I
because
believe, say what?
he had emphysema, and that's what David Lynch passed away from.
Yeah, they say in the movie like you got emphysema, you're gonna be dead. I was like, oh, that hurts a little bit too close to home now. But but he had I think Richard Farnsworth had cancer in real life when he was making this, and he really did have to use those canes to walk. And about a year or so after the movie came out, he shot himself because the pain had gotten too great, and he was just like, I'm just gonna go ahead and end it now. I'm gonna die anyway. So yeah, so sad story, but again, um,
Great story.
good final performance to end things on. And so this was an interesting one because it's famous for being the least Lynchian of all of Lynch's works because it's a Disney movie. It's like a sweet, optimistic kind of story, not super weird, batshit insane like you're used to in all his movies. But so I was interested to see it and see like, okay, let's see his take on that kind of movie, like a Disney movie. And yes, it is different from all his other stuff in that sense. But from the beginning, I was like, this is a David Lynch movie. Like the way it's shot, the pacing of it, the just, all the long, quiet takes. I'm like, this is 100% a David Lynch movie. Even if the subject matter and the tone is different, like
I think
it,
even especially his inclusion of like people who with like speech disabilities and stuff, and then having his daughter have that as well.
mhm.
Um,
Yeah, Sissy Spacek, yeah, who was great as well as the daughter. But yeah, and so that was cool to see, like, okay, so he's doing a different kind of movie, but it still feels like one of his films. And to be completely honest, this just barely, this almost was my favorite movie of his. It's still Mulholland Drive for me, but this came really fucking close. I mean, I can't tell you how much I love this. I felt things, man, watching this one. I fucking felt a whole lot. It's one of the greatest screenplays I've ever seen. The dialogue is so incredibly natural and emotional and human, and just the story is so you're so invested in him and his journey. I mean, each of the side characters that they introduce are very interesting. Even the ones that are just in like one scene, you really like
world's greatest John Deere ad
for real.
John Deere.
Like they could have just taken shots of him riding the lawnmower and then threw the John Deere logo on there and called it a day.
Yep, but yeah, because that's the thing. Not only does he ride a John Deere, but he has to get rid of his piece of shit mower from before, and the John Deere is the one that can get the job done, damn it.
Then he meets the guy who's been working for John Deere for 30 years.
That's right. And yeah, little Everett McGill cameo as the John Deere dealer. But I guess that's one of the few regulars of his that was in this one because it was mainly just seemingly anyway, people he hasn't. Oh, Harry Dean Stanton at the end was weird. I
Yeah,
didn't know.
that kind of was jarring at first. I
I
was not.
know, because I was wondering the whole movie. I'm like, who's gonna play the brother? Is it gonna be a famous person, or is it just gonna be? And then finally, at the very end, like, you can't really see him at first because it's just the wide shot of him coming out on the porch. But then I remember during one of the close-ups of him on the porch, I was like, "Fucking Harry Dean Stanton! What the
The
fuck?" That was a great choice, but
journey is worth it.
exactly.
What Interstate 66 wishes it was.
Yes, exactly. You're not wrong. This had a lawnmower instead of a red convertible, and it still managed to do the road movie better. But yeah, Sam, I know it was your first time watching it. What'd you think?
I loved it. It's such a peaceful and like calm movie. And even when like you have him going down that giant hill and shit's going crazy, it's not like uncomfortable like in a traditional sense. It's you're comfortably with him on this journey and you feel exactly what he feels and you want him to succeed and everything. And that's really where like I love the scene where the dude's talking to his wife and she's like washing dishes and she's kind of thing, but then he turns it down because he needs to do it the way he started it and the way it was intended.
Yeah.
And then that think about earlier when like you first see it rain on him when he's on the lawnmower and you're like, no, like find the shelter and he finds that shelter. And that's one of my favorite moments when he goes off the road and into that little like barn hutch. And his eyes are so crystal blue, it's just fall in love with him. It's such a night, like calm, wonderful time that you just there's nothing bad about it. His brother's alive in the end, so like
Yeah,
there's
because
nothing upset about.
that's something that, you know how invested you are in the journey when you get to the end, and that little pause before you know whether he's there or alive, and that little pause when you're just like, Jesus Christ, please tell me he's not gonna, like you feel it all at once how invested
It
you've
gets you
become in
close when
the
he
journey.
stops at the cemetery and the dude like recognizes him, and you're worried that he recognized him because he buried him or something like that.
Right. And, especially after that scene, that's one of my favorite scenes in the whole movie is the scene with the priest where he's talking about like him growing up with his brother and, them looking up at the stars, which gives context for why he keeps doing that throughout the movie. And,
And why it starts with the stars.
right. And that's an important, through line that you're not aware of the significance of until that scene. And it's just, and there's so many moments like, I mean, the scene in the bar where he's talking about how he accidentally shot his friend in the service, that just wrecked me. The scene where I get, and even moments where it's not anything to do with the dialogue, just one of the most powerful moments in the movie to me was the scene where after he talks with that girl, he wakes up the next morning and she left a little bundle of sticks for him.
Mhm.
No words necessary. That's just such a powerful moment because he got through to her and she's going to go back and, be with her family. And that was very meaningful. And yeah, like you said, it's a calm time, it's a wholesome time, but damn, is it sad at parts too. Like it's just, but not in a way where like in Blue Velvet, there's some genuine fuck shit going on throughout that movie that's just like it fucks you up. This doesn't like fuck you up. This is like it's emotional and it makes you sad, but I don't know, in like a almost a healing kind of way. I don't know if that makes sense, but it's a different feeling. It's like,
Enjoy
yeah,
that he was like, what's a Miller Lite taste like because he hasn't drank for so long. So many companies have been like come out with beer and whatnot that he doesn't even know, but
yeah.
he's seen advertisements. So
Hmm. And yeah, just I don't know. I really think that, and again, like I said, a lot. I relate. I just have to say, I relate to that deer lady so much. I have hit 3 deer in the last year or so, and I just
yeah,
when
okay.
my car is fucked. One of my headlights is busted. Like, yeah, my car is fucked because of deer. And yeah, so when she was going on that rant about like I always hit a deer. I'm like, I feel you, lady. I feel this shit for sure. But and you
You
try
just
you try to avoid them, but you can't. But yeah, I was very happy that I picked this one because it was my favorite of. I mean, it's hard to compare it to the Twin Peaks pilot because that's not really a movie, but I would still say it was my favorite of the three things I saw. And that's saying a lot because I really enjoyed all three, but um this, yeah, really, just like Lynch, man, of all his movies, he just has that ability to just shatter me into pieces. Like this, The Elephant Man and Mulholland Drive, I had pretty much the same reaction every time where I was just shattered by the end of it in the best way, and it was like, wow, like what a movie that was. So yeah, it was quite a time. And I loved, yeah, just everything about it. It was just fantastic.
What did you think, Matt?
Oh, of course, I've seen it before, so I loved it. This was a great second watch. I feel like I could kind of relax because I knew where it was going, so I could enjoy the moments a lot more. Um, and I feel like you kind of do just get caught up in the moments, like you said, Sam, that one where he pulls under the thing and just enjoys the rain, or just the scenes where he's just kind of sitting there, like enjoying the surroundings. Yeah, I feel like those are just really nice moments. And yeah,
And I
Bobby
liked,
Boucher wishes he could do this.
who does?
Bobby Boucher.
Oh,
Lawnmower Bobby.
but what
And
was I
don't
gonna
forget
say?
that it's a good grabber, Alvin.
Mm.
Yep.
$10 grabber.
It's funny. I almost made that my
He had two
review.
though. Greedy fuck.
Hmm.
Yeah, no, that dude greedy as fuck.
It
I
was like, God damn,
almost.
what do you need two grabbers for?
When I saw that was your review, Sam, I was like, I almost made that mine, so I'm glad I didn't, so he could have it. But and I gotta say again, I think of the three things that we saw, this was my favorite Angelo score.
Yeah.
I think he absolutely
The
fucking,
theme with the
I
I
had
think
that in my head for a bit.
yeah, like this was my favorite. I mean, the whole movie, I was like really. I thought it was just, it really contributed to the emotional feel of the movie. I thought Freddie Francis, who shot it, who also shot Elephant Man, crushed it again on this one. But yeah, no, so one thing I loved about it, as far as his arc went, was just the fact that, like you said, you kind of pointed that out, Sam, when he says they offered to give him a ride the rest of the way, and he's like, I got to finish this how I started it. I think that one of his main motivations for doing the whole thing was, he's old, he's fallen down, he's got to walk with two canes, he can't drive. I think he did it to prove to himself, I can do something myself. Like I'm gonna set out on this journey. I'm gonna drive all the way to Wisconsin on my lawnmower, and I'm gonna do it. And no one, I'm gonna prove that I can still do something as an old man, who's sick and doesn't have a lot of time left to live. So if someone helps him, it's like, no, I kind of have to prove that I can do this myself. That's kind of the vibe I got from that part. And
I love towards the end when it breaks down, like right at the end, and you're like, oh fuck. But that dude comes in with an even bigger one, and I was like, I'm glad it wasn't, but at first I was like, I swear to God, if that's his brother, I'm gonna lose my goddamn.
yeah. Yeah, because I thought for a second it was, but I was like, no, they wouldn't do it this
Yeah.
way.
But
But
that's one thing that was really cool. You'd have shots from so far away where you can kind of hear what they're saying, but not exactly the whole conversation. And I
I like
really enjoyed
that.
that.
Yeah, like that's the natural volume that you would hear from that distance. That was cool. But yeah, so to sum up, I guess, first of all, we are definitely three for three this week. I think it's safe to say. Three fantastic picks. And just, since it's the David Lynch tribute episode, I figured maybe we could just each talk briefly, since we only have a few minutes left on the thing. Just about, what he meant to each of us. Sam, I know you in particular are a massive fan of his, so
It definitely he got me into a side of things that I didn't think was possible with movies and television, and a feeling that I didn't know I could feel from that kind of stuff. And that's where Twin Peaks really just put me in that bottle and shook it up like lightning. Because the second I finished it the first time, I went back and just started it over again, because it has that ability where it's new every time you watch it. And that's what a lot of his stuff has with everything. And yeah, I love it.
I mean, David Lynch is the man. He is, his weather reports like helped get me through the pandemic a little bit. Uh, Every time you see the behind the scenes, it's always something interesting, but you're never like, oh, he seems like a bad person. He's always coming from like a good place, even when he's yelling at producers. You're never like, you're just like, hell yeah.
Right.
But he just seemed like such a genuine person.
Yeah. And, like I said, for me, I'd only seen three of his movies before we did this episode. But I already considered him one of my favorite directors just based on those three, because Mulholland Drive, just personally, I can probably count on my hands the number of movies that have affected me that much. Like watching it the first time, I spent after I got done with that movie, I spent like an hour like pacing around my room just trying to figure out what it meant, and it mattered to me so much, just everything that I saw, and it really affected me deeply. And out of everything I've seen from him, that's his masterpiece. Like it's truly just one of the most towering cinematic achievements I've ever seen, really. And Elephant Man's very similar, just absolutely just shattered me when I watched it. It was one of my favorite things I saw last year. And yeah, like you said, Matt, he did always seem like such a great person. And there was a period of time around 2022, I want to say, where I was personally going through a lot of rough stuff. And my day didn't start until his weather report came on. That would always be something I could look forward to. And it was like I would get up, and whatever I did, it was like, okay, my day hasn't started yet until I hear about the beautiful blue skies and golden sunshine all along the way. But yeah, so and I saw Naomi Watts shared on her Instagram like a behind the scenes video of them filming something together. I'm not sure what it was, but where she's supposed to hit him or something for the scene, and he keeps saying, hit me. And she's like, no, I don't want to. I don't want to hurt you. And he just goes, oh, sweetheart, come here. And I'm just like, he just seemed like such a nurturing, good dude. Like, like that was just such a sweet exchange. And then Kyle MacLachlan says, I'll hit him. And I was like, see, he had this, like, he fostered this environment on his sets that I think made people want to keep coming back. Like it's my understanding, like I mentioned earlier, that almost the entire cast of Twin Peaks came back for season three, even some who had been retired from acting for years at that point. So because he's their general and they just want to follow him into battle, they're willing to come back if he's the one, doing it. So I think this says a lot about his character for sure. And like I said, I'm sure we can all agree he was one of the gods of cinema, one of the most unique, legendary directors ever. And, there'll definitely never be another like him. That's for sure.
I do want to say my piece on my favorite quote from the man, which is also from his weather report. One day the sadness will end, but I don't think today is the day.
Yeah. He
Rings home.
yeah. Good way to remember him for sure. Well, that is this week's episode. Thank you all for watching yet again, and let us know your favorite David Lynch movie in the comments if you want. Because why not? And yeah, just keep on watching movies, keep on, if you haven't seen any of these or any of his stuff, go ahead and check it out. It's all really good. I myself am pretty much, as soon as we're done, gonna go back to watching Twin Peaks. So take care, everyone, and we'll see you on the next one.